Howdy, fucking howdy. Welcome back. It is the 9th of April. It's a Tuesday. It is 8:34 in the evening. It's a late-ish video, as you guys know. Tuesdays I got my training session, so usually it's a late video. But welcome back. Today's a day of celebrations. Today was the last day at the office. I have officially I left my job and I'm pursuing a trade. So, yeah, it was a good day. It was kind of sad. I had to say goodbye to I guess my friends that I'd made in the office, and it was nice. One thing I mentioned to a friend this afternoon was, it's weird how the older I get, not the easier, but the more like I've come to terms with goodbyes, and I've learned to appreciate the friendships that I've had in the moment, understanding that they might not last forever, but to appreciate the friendship that the circumstance of working together and being colleagues created. And yeah, it's not always easy, but I remember, like, just in comparison to friends at school or friends I'd made in my first job at Subway, I remember I thought we were going to be friends forever, and the more that I've come in contact, the older I've gotten, the different experiences I've had, I've learned to appreciate what the friendship was in that time of my life. And I made a lot of friends in that office, and it was sad to say goodbye, but I'm excited to start this new chapter of my journey. So it should be good. Today's poem, it's not a poem, but it's a little paragraph from the book Can't Hurt Me. I've read one before. This morning I read again, and I found a few, but there was one that really stood out to me. And I think it's quite applicable to my situation at the moment. So I wanted to read it out, do some reflection, and then I'll wrap it up. It is going to be a short video, and you know how I love my short videos. So here goes. Just a bit of context about this bit. David Goggins has a fear of swimming, and he's being tested in a pool, and one of the instructors has it out for him and is trying to break him while he's wading in the water. He's got to go down and up and tie knots and whatnot. But this little paragraph here I thought was fucking incredible. He said, Time stood still as I realized for the first time that I'd always looked at my life. I'm going to start that again. Let me start again. Time stood still as I realized for the first time that I'd always looked at my entire life, everything I'd been through, from the wrong perspective. Yes, all the abuse I'd experienced and the negativity I had pushed through challenged me to the core. But in that moment, I stopped seeing myself as a victim of bad circumstance and saw my life as the ultimate training ground. Instead, my disadvantages had been callousing my mind all along, and it had prepared me for the moment in that pool with Psycho Pete. Now again, going back to the context, this guy, Psycho Pete, fucking drilling him, had been, as he was wading in the water, he kept splashing water in his face, and he wanted Goggins to quit. And Goggins, more or less, was just like, no, that's not going to happen. And the bit that really stood out to me, it was his perspective. He had to change his perspective. The one thing that Goggins constantly refers to is his past and how he's so scared of playing the victimhood because he doesn't want to be a victim. He wants to just use his past experiences to fuel him. And he says it again and again. I had to change my perspective. I had to use it instead of dwelling on it. And he says something about callousing his mind. And he said how he used to reflect on his past trauma. And instead of saying, instead of, using it in a victim mentality and keeping him pressed down, he used it as, he said it was callousing his mind. And if you know anything about working out, you get callousing on or calluses on your hands. And it's a weird thing that the body does. And I'm not too sure if this is exactly what it is, but it feels as if it's protecting the skin that's being used often when you're lifting the weight, right? And so you're constantly using certain grips as you're pushing around that weight, and the skin forms a protection layer over that skin that's being used. It's incredible, right? And he said, when you put yourself into these different situations, all the difficulties in your life, think of it as it was just callousing your mind. Think of it as you push through them. So why not use those, difficult situations as a protection layer to something that you can look back and be like, I pushed through it. Nothing in front of me, it's going to test me, but I have been tested before and I pushed through it already. This is not going to stop me. That's what I pulled out of that fucking thing. I'm not too sure if I'm coming off as convincing, but as soon as I read it, I remember thinking to myself, I think what the beauty of life is often we are faced with many challenges. Then we have the choice to either go through it or step aside and let it pass. And I think a beautiful thing about maturing is understanding that pain and suffering and trauma, it all will subside. Eventually it will subside, and to replace it will be success. It's that feeling of triumph when you go through it. Even today, when I was saying goodbye to my friends, I remember feeling so kind of nervous because I didn't know how I was going to go about, saying goodbye to everybody. But I remember when we all gathered around and I said my little speech after the boss said his speech, I just remember thinking to myself, like when we were all eating, how grateful I was that I had met these people. And they were showing me how much I meant to them, because a lot of them were coming up and, saying good luck, and it just meant so much to me. And again, I just remember thinking, why was I so nervous to say goodbye to these people? And it was only when you go through it, you just realize, like, even now when I think about it, I was like, why was I so nervous saying goodbye to them? They wanted an opportunity to say goodbye to me, and they did it through preparing food and having speeches for me, and it was really, really nice. It was really nice. But it doesn't compare to trauma and whatnot, but it just compares to that, just those little wins that you can go, not a little win, but those scenarios where you dread it so much because you're constantly thinking of the worst thing that could happen. But all you have to do is just go through it. I don't know. It meant a lot to me today, and I just remember thinking afterwards at how much I appreciated it and how much I wish I wasn't so nervous going into it. But yeah, Look, I hope. Look, this book is really good. It's giving me a lot of dimes. I've got a friend that recommended listening to the audiobook, which I might do, but I quite enjoy reading it in the morning. So I'm going to continue doing that. And if I find certain paragraphs that I want to reflect on, I'll be sure to put it in my videos. All right. Again, I wanted to thank anybody that's listening to these videos. It really does mean a lot to me. So, yeah, I'll throw my hands up here. Deuces, and I'll see you tomorrow.